Good morning. It's David Scriven, and I'm with Paul Rankin, and we are going to do the VSA 5-minute morning miner on Friday, the 6th of June. How are you today, Paul?
Very well, but a little bit disappointed it's raining again.
Well, it's you. But I think you're going on holiday. Why are you worried about that, Paul? Let's move on to our client, Sierra Madre Gold and Silver, renegotiating a loan payment. Could you give us some more thoughts on that?
Yes, that's a $5 million non-revolving secured term loan they got from the property vendor of La Guitarra. That was First Majestic Silver, the TSX-listed silver producer also in Mexico. They've deferred the terms at the consent of First Majestic for a further 12 months out to May of 2027. And otherwise, there's no other changes in the term or the loan conditions. And specifically, that improves the short-term working capital position of the company. I attended CFO Ken Scott's presentation at the Atlantic One conference not that many days ago. And he had talked about how the operating team at La Guitarra was submitting its requests for productivity and equipment purchases and improvements, and he was having to prioritize what he could pay for now and what he simply had to tell them he didn't have the money for currently. But what this loan deferral does is it puts more cash, immediate cash, in hand for him to, in particular, put some greater priority in buying some new underground equipment. And what that should do is raise the productivity of the underground teams such that the production rate on ore can be higher to the mill. And given these very high metals prices we have now, that would mean that there would be more revenue, higher profit margins, and they'd actually be able to pay off this loan quicker. So I think it's a good operating strategy to do this at this time.
Yeah, good positive development. We've been recently marketing with him, so investors becoming more and more familiar with the progress at La Guitarra. And perhaps we move on, in the interest of time, to Ironveld and news there on Lapon.
Yes, Ironveld, the AIM quoted a South African iron hopeful that's been around for quite a good number of years. They're actually in production or in production mode now as they've begun blasting at the Altona farm in South Africa, held by their subsidiary Andrada Mining. That's a gabbro-norite hosted magnetite ore body, and they are attempting now to move that to open cast production of about 20,000 tons per month of ore. So that puts Ironveld into the producer category. So well done them finally.
Good. And I think that you'd also like to make a comment on Andrada.
Andrada Mining has an operating update for their first quarter of 2026 for this fiscal year. All the numbers are running in the right direction here. They have been focusing on optimizing operations and improving margins, and these numbers are indicating they're having some success with 7% increase year on year on ore processed to 250,000 tons, 11% increase in tin concentrate to 405 tons. And tantalum, they were particularly pleased with. They've raised that from what had been the prior total for 2025 of 8.6 tons. They're already up to 12 tons of tantalum concentrate just in this first quarter. So real happy with that. And it doesn't hurt either that we've had not quite 10% improvement in those concentrate selling prices as well. So very happy with that. Their average tin price per ton was up 9% quarter on quarter and 7% year on year. And all-in sustaining costs just at the US $30,000 a ton of contained tin. So it is in the category where the actual tin price is above their all-in sustaining cost now, so they should be starting to this year showing some operating profit for sure.
Good. And I think you want to make a comment on precious metals, but before you do, I'll mention something on base metals and just make the observation that LME stockpiles in copper at the lowest since July 23, and we're moving higher in the copper price. But on precious metals, your thoughts?
Yes, Metals Focus had put out their Gold Focus 2025 report yesterday in a presentation here in London. They showed the strength within the gold market within that report was simply due to, or primarily due to, the consistent central bank gold buying in the year, and offset by a slowing jewelry sales, particularly in Asia because of price conscious consumers there. They do expect the prices to move modestly higher for the remainder of this year on the same sorts of stimulus to further all-time highs in price. Uh, the precious metals today, or last 24 hours, definitely showing their interest in that, as the silver price has moved well above US $36 an ounce, and platinum now rebounding nicely up into the $1,150 US range, with palladium now back above $1,000 an ounce as well.
Very good, sir. If there's no other thoughts that you'd like to add, perhaps we'll wrap it up because we're just over the 5 minutes, and wish our investors a very good weekend.
Yes, that's all for me.
This podcast has been produced and edited by VSA Capital. It is intended for information purposes and not as investment advice. The information is intended for recipients who understand the risks associated with equity investments in smaller companies. Please do your own research and do not rely on a single source when making an investment decision. VSA Capital may derive fees from this content and seeks to do business with the companies mentioned.